Cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Our hymn is number 360.
Our chalice lighting this morning is a unison chalice lighting. Please turn to your hymnals, number 447. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Let's affirm our covenant together, speaking the words that are written in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is his law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another.
Let us remember in this moment of centering the Jewish season of the year, days of awe between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and be mindful of our need to reach out and to atone as we move into that Jewish New Year. The place where we meet to seek the highest is holy ground. We gather to find within ourselves and within this beloved community of memory and hope the spiritual values which give meaning to our lives, the transcendent values which sustain and support us through life's joys and sorrows. Let us pause in silent meditation. Amen.
And now, if you would turn to reading number 660 in the hymnal, Gray Hymnals. To live deliberately. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? We are determined to be starved before we are hungry. I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. I wish to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I cannot live. I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear. Nor do I wish to practice resignation unless it is quite necessary. I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. I want to help broad swath, drive life into a corner, and reduce it to its lowest terms. If it proves to be mean, then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it, and publish its meanness to the world. Or if it is sublime, to know it by experience, and to be able to give it through real habit.
Let the children come forward. Anyone else would like to come also? Just invite me. Today. Organize all the kids. Good morning, everyone. Today, the Rainbow Secret class, our 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, are learning about how when we gather at church, we are welcome and encouraged to wonder and ask questions. And wondering and asking questions really go together, kind of like peanut butter and jelly. The story today is called Little Black Crow and is written by Chris Roshka. It is a simple and charming story of wonder about a little boy who asks a lot of questions about a little crow. Little black crow, where do you go? Where do you go in the cold white snow? Where do you go? Little black crow, where do you fly in the stormy sky? Whom do you meet in the long, wet street? Whom do you meet? And there's a picture of the crow meeting the little bunny rabbit. Little black crow, do you ever complain in the wind and the rain? Do you ever complain? Is it enough to have feathers in all kinds of weathers? Is it enough to have feathers? Little black crow in that tall tree, are you a boy like me? With a sister and a brother and a father and a mother, are you a boy like me? Little black crow, how do you sleep in the forest so deep? How do you sleep? Do you ever worry when you hop and you hurry? Are you ever afraid of mistakes you've made? Are you never afraid? Little black crow, whom do you love in the clouds above? Whom do you love? Is it that little gray dove? Is that whom you love? Little black crow, do you ever wonder about lightning or thunder? About morsels you eat? About creatures you meet? Little black crow, in the white snow, in the blue sky, in the brown below, do you ever wonder about stars you see? Might you ever wonder about someone like me? And there's the crow and the little boy meeting on the fence. So we're going to head off to our Sunday school class now, and never stop wondering or asking questions. Thank you.
So this morning's theme, grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first was made, puts me in mind of the individual lifespan and the lifespan of a group or an organization like this congregation, which is How old? More than 300 years old. And in all of that time, if you think back to those who came before us, the gifts that they gave that we are still receiving, and if you think forward, the gifts that we want to give to the future congregation, I think in this case we're not thinking of aging, but we're thinking about the cycle, the circle of life, to give and to receive. And on that note, I'd like to talk about giving gifts this morning. If you are visiting this morning, you're most welcome to make an offering, but you are our guests, and so the congregation would be glad for you to let the offering plate pass by. We hope you will come again and consider becoming a member when the time is right for you. For the life and ministries of this church, past, present, and future, the morning offering will now be gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward to receive the morning offering? Thank you all for your generosity.
us pause in reflection and meditation. The world we know is passing. All things grow strange. All but the stout heart's courage. All but the undiminished luster of an ancient dream, which we shall dream again as others have dreamed before us. Pilgrims forever in a world forever new. And what we loved and lost, we lose to find how great a thing is loving and the power of it to make a dream come true. For us there is no haven of refuge. For us there is the wilderness, wild and trackless, where we shall build a road and sing a song. But after us there is the promised land, strong from our sorrows and shining from our joys, our gift to those who follow us along the road we build, singing our song. Let us pause again, each reflecting and speaking into the silence. Amen. As most of you know, Judy was out early because she was getting her eye surgery done. I understand that she'll be back in the office on Monday. But because of that, we had to get material for the order of service to her very early. And of course, there are changes. The reading, instead of being the familiar one to many of you, is by May Sarton. May Sarton was a member of the First Parish in Cambridge, and she wrote near the end of her life several years of journals. This was for the year 1993, when May Sarton was 82. Kay Davis interviewed me and had really studied my work and asked some questions, as everybody else does, about why solitude is so important and how it is different from loneliness. As I have said many times, one is lonely when one is in some way impoverished inside oneself. I do still love solitude and need it to discover where I really am. And one of the problems of these cluttered days where I have appointments either for interviews or with friends, because everybody comes to Maine in the summer, is that I almost never have a whole day to myself now. And that is what I crave. Perhaps come October, it will happen. But then in October, there is my play opening on the 8th, and I go to Maggie Vaughan's for that weekend. So there is no clear time ahead. Being with oneself is always a confrontation, because there is always some human problem that one is involved with, even a small one, that takes some thinking about. I have said so often that solitude is the richness of self and loneliness the poverty of self, that I was glad to think just a bit differently about it today. Our hymn is number 306, but to a different tune than the one that it's published to in your hymnal. Thomas Michelson, my successor in Cambridge, wrote the words, and he wrote them to go with the tune of Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. Well, I won't say anything more. I just think it's sad that it got put with a hymn that is maybe singable by the choir but not by congregations. So we're going to sing it to Joyful, Joyful, hymn number 306. Good morning. It's always one of the delightful events in my life to come back to this church where I lived with you people, for many of you, though many of you have come since I was here, for 9 years. I also want to send Helen's regrets. She has been suffering for the last half of the last week from a cold. And yesterday she was feeling better and thought she would be able to come this morning. She woke up this morning and said, I'm just going to stay in bed. So she sends her deep regrets at not being here. The two quotations cited at the top of the page in your order of service, in their paradox, sum up my perception of life as an octogenarian at the age of 83. They are a paradox or perhaps an oxymoron, but I find both statements to be true. And that's what this sermon is about. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first is made. And getting old is not for sissies. Let's see, I'll start at the top of my head, that is. My brain doesn't work very well. All the memories are all still there, it's all up there somewhere, but the retrieval system just can't find it. It can find all sorts of meaningless, insignificant trivia. I can rattle off little bits of ditty that I learned as a child, but sometimes it can't find the important things that I need to remember, like your name. Moving on down, my eyes aren't so great either. Reading is difficult, especially the newspaper with very small and not very black type on newsprint that's not very white. And if you notice, the sermon is printed out on type so big you might be able to even read it from back there, and on yellow paper, which is better. And my ears, well, go down there. I can hear you pretty well. If, one, I have my hearing aids in. 2, you're just 3 feet away facing me. 3, you speak distinctly. And 4, if there's no other conversation going on in the room, like church coffee hour or dining in my favorite restaurant. So there, it's a long journey, and I know I'm only down to my neck. Shall I go on? And on and on and on, all the way down to my toes? I didn't hear any yeses. No, I don't think so. Better listen to Todor's organ music than to mine. But I see and I feel the paradox when in the morning I do my workout. And the hardest exercise is getting down on the floor to do it and getting back off the floor when I'm finished. And when I get down to tie my shoes, the thought goes through my mind, is there anything else I need to be doing while I'm down here? Yet for all this, and for my pessimism about the state of the world, because I do have serious doubts about whether this human race of ours will survive its self-destructive behavior or will, like the dinosaurs, become extinct superpowers. Yet I find it an exciting time to be alive. The paradox that I feel is like an octogenarian Candide. That play is going on, I believe, is the Leonard Bernstein musical. Candide is torn between his naive mentor, Dr. Pangloss with his Leibnizian mantra, all is for the best in the best of all possible worlds, and Voltaire's pessimistic realism expressed both in Candide and in his poem on the Lisbon earthquake, which he titled An Inquiry into the Maxim, Whatever is Right. An interesting aside, nothing to do with the sermon, but Voltaire criticizes Leibniz for his, but not Alexander Pope, a Voltaire contemporary, for his optimistic principle that all that is right. One of the octogenarian paradoxes is my excitement and joy in the computer-driven age and its gift of information and scientific exploration. The downside of the paradox is my technological handicap. Some examples. In 1957, because of a sermon I'd given on machine-human interface, I was employed on my day off each week by RCA to help design their computers to enable them to better relate to the programmers. Mind you, I know nothing about computers. The computer we were working with, it had a human name, but I don't remember what it was, completely occupied a room half the size of this sanctuary, this gigantic machine. And data was fed into it with stacks of punch cards. Remember those? Some of you are old enough to remember them. Today, my laptop, or even that smartphone in your pocket or purse, can do far more than that computer could. My first computer used to periodically scream at me, "It's not my fault!" Any of you have a computer like that? I wanted to punch it in the screen. And Mac refuses to do things the way I want him to do them. I suffer the illusion that I'm in charge and his mission is to serve me. He may serve me, but he also enslaves me. He's programmed, and I have to do things his way. He doesn't do them my way. He liberates me, but he's a benevolent despot. When I'm fighting with Mac, I moan and groan to Helen that I was born 100 years too late, that I don't fit into this technological age. But then my 16-year-old granddaughter comes along and does what I was struggling with so easily and quickly that I can't follow what she's telling me to do and learn from her. And I think then I was born 100 years too soon. With A. Houseman, I found myself a stranger and afraid in a world I never made. Nevertheless, I revel in the joy of what Mac allows me to do, even in my aging, somewhat feeble octogenarian years. My sermons 62 years ago, in the first year of my ministry, were written on a used portable typewriter. Eventually, I went to electrics, and then to 2 IBM Selectrics sitting side by side. If Al Gore can say I took the initiative in creating the internet, I can claim to have invented cut and paste. And I have the evidence to prove it. If I go back in my old sermon files in that era, I can find lots of sermons because I would type on one typewriter, "Oh, I got an idea, but it's not ready to go in here, but I'll forget it if I don't get it down." So I would jump to the other one and then literally cut these pieces of paper up and tape them back together. Now the computer enables me to write, to edit, to refine, to cut and paste, and all the rest. And it tremendously improves the quality of everything I write. And the spell checker catches many typos. But that can backfire, as it did once when I was editing the newsletter Elderberries, which is a newsletter for the retired UU ministers. And I called the Creative Saging Award the Creative Sagging Award. And the spell checker thought that was just fine. And it got printed that way. My colleagues will never let me forget that. And then there is the research. I worship at the altar of the big G. Not God, Google. I recently did 2 lecture discussion courses in my Needham congregation, one on the church and state issues in the early republic, and the other on the 3 roots of American Unitarianism. Both of them dealt with the years from 1789 to 1825, from Presidents Washington down through Monroe, which incidentally had Unitarians in it, Jefferson and Adams. In the process of writing those lectures, I created, mostly from Google, about 20 sub-files on each topic, doing the research on the computer, putting those files together and then being able to draw on them in the preparation of the lectures. Google was founded in 1997. I'd retired the year before. And I look at it now and wonder how I managed to do ministry for 47 years without Google. Today it is one of the joys of my life as an octogenarian. Having all of that world at my fingertips that I could not even have found in one library before Google. I did a sermon one time in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I went to 7 libraries in Philadelphia trying to find what I wanted, only to discover it was a book that hadn't been printed yet. I was 49 when Voyager 1 was launched into space in 1977. If all went as planned, it would be the first space probe to leave our solar system after visiting some of the outer planets, including Jupiter. And I found this so utterly fascinating that I wrote a sermon about it, entitled By Jove and On to Outer Space. I had long argued that since our sun is but one of billions and billions of stars, the claim that ours was the only life-bearing planet in the universe was both absurd and arrogant. And the sermon was written about that idea growing from a flawed, narcissistic theology that we human beings were unique and that God created not just the world, but the whole universe with all those stars, billions of them, just for our benefit. Ridiculous. Now, 34 years and, yes, exactly 34 years and 27 days since the launch of Voyager 1, I'm no longer 49, but an octogenarian. And I may, if I stick around a couple of more years, have the joy of being here when Voyager 1 will leave the solar system around 2014. Just the thought of it gives me goosebumps. But unless I can hang around for another 40,000 years, which I'm not really counting on, that'll be the point at which Voyager, if it lasts, will come within 1.6 light years of the first star that it will encounter. So it's unlikely that even if there are planets circling that star, and even if there's life on one of them, that I will ever learn of that life, though I am sure that it exists somewhere out there. But alas, I'll never see it. In the beginning of this sermon, I mentioned the difficulty of reading the daily newspaper with my octogenarian eyes. But then Helen gave me a Kindle for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I'm like a fundamentalist testifying as to how his soul has been saved. I take the thing to bed with me every night, and I put it on the table by my bed, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, promptly, the New York Times miraculously arrives. I don't have to get up and go out in the rain or snow, wearing my pajamas or less, and worrying about being seen by the neighbors. And I can enlarge the type and luxuriate in reading, unfortunately, the bad news, with Helen sleeping peacefully by my side. Aye, there's the rub, as Hamlet says. I read the god-awful bad news and wish I hadn't read it. Stop the world, I want to get off. 9 years ago, I was a theme speaker at Star Island for a week. I chose the title, Slow the Pace, Savor the Journey, a series of lectures on the philosophy of leisure. We looked at the classical philosophers. We looked at the transcendentalists. We looked at Buddhist serendipity. And we looked at Catholic philosophers, particularly Joseph Piper, who wrote a book on the philosophy of leisure. It was a perspective that I had envisioned for my own retirement years. And I may have chosen that topic because after 6 years of retirement, where I was then, I was still searching for that elusive leisure. It's another paradox that I live with. I live in a world full of exciting new things to do, and I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I'm greedy, and I can't say no. I overcommit, and then feel life is too harried and hectic and lacks the leisure that I look forward to having in retirement. Life seems busier than it was before I retired. And I hear similar stories like that both from my ministerial colleagues who've retired and from friends who have retired from the secular world, secular careers. Sometimes I wonder if I should come out of retirement and return to ministry in order to have more leisure time. Finally, there is the paradox of solitude and loneliness. Two very different ways of being alone. My father had a loss of hearing more severe than mine. And while my hearing aids leave much to be desired, they are far better than his were in the late 1960s and early 70s. He shocked me once when he said to me, "I would rather be blind." I was stunned. How could you say that? How could this be? His reply was something like this. I sit in this room. This came up at a family reunion gathering. I sit in this room with my family, and I can see all of you out there, but I can't hear the chatter. I can't hear you talk about what you're thinking and doing. It's almost like looking at a picture of you instead of the real you. There's no interaction, no communication, no being a part of each other's lives. I feel isolated and lonely, he said, in a room full of people. If I could hear you, I'd be a part of all. It's much more important than seeing. Well, I could understand his point then rationally. Now, being there myself, I can understand it viscerally. Even with my sophisticated high-tech hearing aids, being in a room with family when everybody is chattering at once and lots of social interaction is taking place, I sit there like a bump on a log, unable to participate. May Sarton, writing in that journal, recounted her struggle to understand what it was in her that made solitude such a vital and necessary kind of aloneness, while loneliness was such a painful kind of aloneness. She concluded, I have said so often that solitude is the richness of self and loneliness of the poverty of self. She spoke for me, as did Paul Tillich, who expressed it as I have experienced it. Language has created the word loneliness, he said, to express the pain of being alone, and the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. I hate the loneliness, but I love the solitude. And again, the paradoxes, for I have some of both. So how do we cope with all of these paradoxes of aging? They are real, and in all that array of drugs, I upset my doctor, who's a personal friend, when I talked about all the junk he was dumping into my system. Even in that array of drugs, there is no pill. to make the paradoxes of aging go away. Ella Wheeler Wilcox spoke for me 128 years ago in a poem appropriately entitled Solitude. She began with the lines that are familiar to all of you. Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. And therein I find the wholeness rather than the fragmentation. Find the solitude and not the loneliness in the paradoxes that make up my life as an octogenarian. Joy and sorrow, love and pain, life and death. These are the fabric of human existence. Like the yang and the yin of ancient Chinese philosophy, or the conflict of a Greek tragedy, the tensions of these forces confront us with the paradox of life itself, doubled in spades in our later years. But it's better to laugh at them than to cry over them. Our hymn is number 128, For All That Is Our Life. Benediction, the words have changed. These are from Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow.
Oh
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to thank everyone who helped to make this morning's service what it was. I especially want to thank our Minister Emeritus, Lila. Please join us for coffee and refreshments and conversation at Whitcomb Hall following our service. The door to the hall is right over there. Just follow the line. I want to also thank the choir. This was really special for me because it's the first time that I've been able to hear you sing. So that's just wonderful. Thank you so much, choir. And of course, to our music director, Theodore. And if you were as inspired as I was by that, and if you're not wearing one of those red robes but would be interested in doing so, please do contact Theodore at the number that is listed in the inside part of your order of service. I would like to ask whoever would like to lead the announcements today. Who would like to lead the announcements and come up? At least, great.
If you have an announcement to make, please come forward with your name and a brief announcement, and folks can speak to your coffee hour if you want to say.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Jose. I'm speaking on behalf of Barry Stearns, who has helped to organize our second UU blood drive. It's going to be happening this Tuesday from 2 until 7. The last time was at 6 o'clock. Please sign up if you can. There's a critical need right now for O positive, A positive, O negative, A negative, and B positive. Because of the recent hurricanes, there's been a special need. People haven't been able to get out to donate. There's a sign up in Whitcomb Hall. See me or just sign up. There's also a need for people to help out if you're not able to donate but would like to help. There's a sign up for that too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Gildersleeve, and I want to let you know that we're trying to get the library, the children's library, open on a more regular basis. We have a couple of people who have volunteered to staff, Donna Gracie and Daria. Let's see, I'm going to be in there today. It is not rocket science. Basically, you read to anyone who wants to be read to. You exchange, if they want to take a book out, you exchange the white card for the blue card. If books come back in, you exchange the blue card for the white card. And we would like, it's not any harder than greeting or coffee hour. And so any people would like to volunteer to staff or just see what we do, drop by the library today. One caution, we're not going to allow food or drinks in the library.
Good morning, I'm Scott Tugas. First Parish is the sponsoring organization for PAC 250, the Cub Scouts. And the boys are raising money now by selling popcorn. You'll see some of them selling it out in coffee hour. So if anyone wants to support us, please see the boys.
My name is Joyce Moore, Chair of the Acacia and Kenya Committee. Acacia and Kenya is the official outreach project of this congregation where we partner with community leaders to educate and care for over 150 girls. I have tons to say. I won't come see me at my table at coffee hour, but next Saturday we are having a book sale 12 to 5. So you can see me at coffee hour, you can see me Saturday. Lots of exciting things. Thanks.
I'm Karen Klein, and as we all know, there are many ways that laws get made in the Commonwealth. One of them is initiative petition. We do believe strongly in the separation of church and state, so it's not appropriate for me to talk about that here. But if you're curious about initiative petition, please come see me in coffee hour.
Hello, I'm Donna Blakesley, and if you are interested in being a greeter, well, making everyone's greeter, needed. I think we're a little short today. But if you want to be a greeter, there's a sign-up sheet. It will be at the welcoming table. And just sign up. And please, I'll put up the top, leave your contact information.